Preparations underway for the United States as they get set to face off against Mexico Thursday night in the CONCACAF Nations League semis. Other semifinal, Canada-Panama, that one earlier on Thursday. U.S. under interim manager B.J. Callahan looking to punch their ticket to Sunday's final, as well as make it 6 straight games and 5 straight competitive matches unbeaten against Mexico. Thrilled now to welcome into Futbol Americas the goalie for the U.S. men's national team and Arsenal in the Premier League, Matt Turner. Matt, welcome back to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be back on.
So as we mentioned, not your first visit to Futbol Americas. In fact, I think the first time we had you on was way back in 2021, the early days of Matt Turner on the national team. But we have not had you on since the World Cup. So I want to know, what was the experience like of being the number one for the U.S. at the World Cup, and how has it changed your life, your career, all that?
Well, it was an absolute whirlwind. It was just the stuff dreams made of, and I feel like I was so hyper-focused for so long to get to that point. I really just enjoyed every moment while I was there, and I felt like I represented myself and my family, but more importantly, the United States of America proudly, on the world stage. So it was a huge honor, the biggest one of my career for sure. And I don't know if my life has changed too much since then. Yeah, I'd probably get recognized a few more times than I used to, but I'm still the same me. I'm still the same hungry athlete that just wants to continue to compete and achieve more and more. I thought maybe after the World Cup I'd feel a little bit, satisfied, but it just made me hungrier for more.
Well, on the field, you were a massive story. First goalkeeper since like the 30s to register 2 clean sheets at a World Cup. Off the field, there was also another big story involving the Reynas, the Berhalters. I don't really want to get into that. I want you to tell me how the team has been able to move on from that. Like, what's been the key for you guys to move on from that?
I think the thing that we hold true to ourselves is our anchors and stuff that we can always, fall back on, and our relationships and our close connections is probably the biggest strength that this team has. Nobody really understands what it's like to be a U.S. men's national team player like a U.S. men's national team player. So when all that noise is circling around the outside and the vultures are trying to pick you apart, it just makes us stronger and closer together.
The vultures, Herc, he called you a vulture. Did you hear that?
He's talking to you.
Matt, it's not every day that we get an American who has the perspective that you have on the Premier League title race. Just what an opportunity for you to be on Arsenal on this magical season. You guys right there up until the end competing against Manchester City. Take us inside the title race with Arsenal in the Premier League and what that experience was like from your perspective.
It was an amazing experience. I feel like I learned so much throughout the season, and I feel like we had guys that were playing at such a high level for so long, and not only the guys in the locker room, but what it takes on the club side, from the physios, the massage therapists, the chefs, the coaching staff, the player liaisons. Every little bit is just firing on all cylinders. And I will say about the club in general is, from the outside, you think it's this massive club and it's just a machine. And I think I was sort of worried about that when I was coming into it. And when I got there, you sort of realize when you get behind the doors that it's a family-run sort of business, and people that work in that building have been working there for 30 years, and they really take an interest in your family life and making sure everybody feels super welcome and at home. And I think that was such a blessing, and I think that's a huge strength of ours at Arsenal.
Matt, I feel like last year, one of the major talking points when it came to the U.S. men's national team goalkeeper position was the amount of club games they would play. I felt like literally yesterday it was Casey, Keller, Sebastian, and I talking about Zach Steffen's role at City and not getting enough games. And I was to the point of saying, it doesn't matter for a goalkeeper. I don't think goalkeepers are human. Casey was like, no, you need to stay sharp. It's very different. You can't mimic those in a training session. You played 5 games in the Europa League with Arsenal. Now you guys are going to be in the Champions League. Give me your overall thoughts on if that'll keep you sharp enough or if you think you need more games.
Yeah, I think it'll keep me sharp enough. I think I proved that at the World Cup. I only had, 5 games or 6 games maybe leading into the World Cup, and I did really well. And I think for me, the biggest thing is I know who I am as a goalkeeper. So it's different than being 20, 21, 22, 23 years old and being in that position versus being nearly 29 and having gone through loads of experiences, sort of as a player and as a human being, really. So I know who I am. I think that for me, training and hopefully playing more games at the highest level possible has been really helpful to me. And I think I've shown it in my national team performances. And as you know, I obviously want to play more. It's no secret. I've been pretty open about that. But, when you're competing with a guy like Aaron, day in and day out, it's pretty tough. But I feel like, he's pushed me to be a better goalkeeper, and I feel like I've done the same for him.
Let's move on from your club situation. Talk a little bit about this game on Thursday night against Mexico. You look at the history, at least the recent history. It's all on your side of this rivalry. 5 straight unbeaten against Mexico, 4 straight unbeaten in competitive matches. Do you feel like the favorites heading into Thursday night?
I think you guys are asking the wrong guy that. The answer that's coming. I never feel like a favorite. I don't even necessarily feel like I'm the out and out number one for the national team. I always feel like I have something to prove. I always want to take things one step further. So yes, we've had a good run of form against Mexico recently, but all the gloves come off in a semifinal. It doesn't matter who we're playing against. Anything can happen. So I look forward to it. It's only going to be my second time playing against Mexico, but luckily it's at a familiar venue for me.
It's funny you say you don't feel like the clear-cut number one. I remember you last year on this show, you made a point to mention that it was Zach who got those games. He got the big games. You're going to be the guy getting this big game, and that's what we all think will happen. It's a massive rivalry. Just what's at stake for you personally and the team with the rivalry in this region?
Again, I think, you look at it as a semifinal, and Mexico's the team that we have to play to reach the final and get to our ultimate goal. It means a lot to me to be a part of the national team, to represent us when we go up against Mexico. I think those are the types of games that you want to be in as a player. And when I was sort of starting my fandom of US men's soccer, you always tune in for those games for sure. So it's really exciting to be able to be a part of one of them, and I look forward to hopefully writing more history.
Matt, how does this team stack up against the team that we saw at the World Cup? It is a lot of the same pieces. There's an obvious, absence in a guy like Tyler Adams, but there's a change as well in the technical area, right? We got BJ Callahan now in charge of the team. So how is this group maybe different from what we saw back in Qatar?
If I was you guys, I would expect to see a lot of the same in terms of tactically. We know what works for our side, and we're not really going to change too much from that. And BJ's done a great job sort of coming in and setting the expectation for the players in camp, and guys have been locked in, dialed in, and I just feel like there's been a really good aura around the team, and the ball's been popping, and it felt like once we landed and touched down in Vegas, you could just sort of see the switch flip in a lot of people, and they started to get that twinkle in their eye and are looking forward to the game and understand the task at hand. And I think overall, you think about guys getting more and more experiences at the club level and just growing up. I mean, these guys, there's so many kids on this team. They're going to get more mature and become better players with their experiences.
You said it. You're no longer that player who's 21, 22, 23 years old. You're coming into your own at 29. You play in the Premier League, World Cup experience. Your opinion carries a lot of weight. What does Matt Turner want to see in the next U.S. men's national team coach?
So obviously, for me, it's just somebody that's going to allow us to be ourselves and express ourselves. But obviously, just any coach, that's what you want. You want the ability to express yourselves. And selfishly, I want him to want to call me in as many times as possible. So I think it's, as a national team, the USMNT it's a different breed. You have such a large player pool from various playing backgrounds. So somebody that can manage that respects MLS, that respects the young players. And I think that, it's been over the last few years, we've done a good job of integrating all that into one culture. And so hopefully more of the same in that sense. But again, I'm just a player. And it's up to the big dogs to make the decision. And from there, I'm going to give it my best to be on the pitch as much as possible.
The big dogs, the guys in the suits, going to have to take the decisions. All right, there he is, Matt Turner. Good luck on Thursday night against Mexico. Great to have you here on Futbol Americas.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.